it's the Warhipster here, coming at you with another Contrast Plus painting tutorial from the Flesh Eater Court's army set. Yes, we are painting more Cryptguard, but today we are not painting them in Morgaunt, we are painting them in the colours of Hollowmourne. Yes, that slightly greenish one. Well, it's not greenish, it is very green. So, we're going to be painting these guys up today. They're really cool. I really like the Cryptguard. And a massive thank you to Games Workshop for sending me these early as part of the box. Because we've been really enjoying the Flesh Eater Court stuff around here. You guys seem to really like it as well, so we're going to keep going. Right, with all that out of the way, they've been primed in white Scar, just like the rest of the Flesh Eater Courts that we've done. Keep it nice, keep things nice and simple, is what I'm trying to say there. And we're going to jump in and we're going to start painting. If we've got any specific things that will come up, then we shall point them out. However, there shouldn't be too many surprises on these. So, colour we're going to be using first is a roughly 1-to-1 mix of Contrast Medium and Gutrippa Flesh. And we're going to be applying this over the top of all of their skin. So with that done, we're now going to shade them in two different ways to create a little bit of variation in the unit. And the first of which is going to be some Gryph-Charger Grey. And we're going to apply this over top of all of the skin. This is optional, you don't have to do this. It does just lend a little je ne sais quoi to the unit. The second way we can shade all of our skin is with some Poxwalker. There's actually a third way we're going to do it as well. And for a slightly grubbier Hollowmourne look, we could take some Athonian Camoshade and use this to shade. All the skin. So with that done, we've got three very different looking ghouls. It does create some really nice variation. The Gryph-Charger Grey and Poxwalker are kind of similar, but there is a slight subtle difference in it, whereas the Athonian Camoshade one is completely different. However, we are now going to unify them a little bit by taking some Black Legion. I'm going to use this to paint in claws and hair. I'm not going to do the teeth. That comes later. With all that Black Legion applied, we're then going to take some Garaghak sewer. I'm going to use this over the top of any of the kind of leather bits that they're wearing, so any kind of cloth or straps or whatever. Don't worry too much about the weapons themselves, just for the minute. So with that all done, what we're then going to do is we're going to take some Wyldwood and we're going to apply this over the top of all of the wood and all of the leather wraps on the halberds. But don't worry, they're not staying that colour. So with that all done, we're then going to take some Blood Angels Red. We're now going to apply this over the top of the wraps on the halberds. With that then done, we take some Skeleton Horde and we're going to apply this over the top of all of the bones. One here on the end of the halberd. that. We've got the skull up here. And so with that done, a couple of these have got some like little cable ties and things. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some black Templar and apply this over the top of these. And so with that done, we're going to apply our final sort of base coat, which is going to be some thinned down Iron Warriors. I'm going to apply this over the top of all of the metal work. For example, the pommels. Is it a pommel on a hybrid? Hybrid? Halberd. Goodness gracious. We've got these bits. Counterweights, maybe? What they are. We've got the actual blades themselves, and some of them have some plate armor, and some of them will have some mail. Regardless, we want to get this all over all of those details. So with that done, it's time to add some shades and extra colour. So the first of these is going to be not a shade, but in fact another contrast paint. It might look like this is a base coat, which it kind of technically is. But what we're going to do is we're going to take some Volupus Pink and we're going to apply this inside their mouths and over the top of their eyeballs. And consequently, the kind of lower bit of each of their eyes. Kind of like their bottom eyelids you see just here on this one. I want to apply this over the top of the eye and over the under bit. Like that. So with that Volupus Pink all applied, we're then going to take some Agrax Earthshade. I'm going to use this to shade all of the silver. So with that done, all of our ghouls are now at what I would call a Warhipster battle ready, and I think they look pretty cool. However, we're not going to leave them there. Of course not. We're going to take them to the next level. I'm going to do this by adding some highlights and a little bit of layering. And, well, we do have 3 different kind of colour schemes for the flesh, and you could leave them there if you wanted to. But what you can do, and this is applicable across all 3 of them, is if you want to kind of take them up just a little bit higher, you can either highlight or relayer all the skin with some thinned down Ionrach skin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to effectively do both. So on this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pretty much do kind of a sort of relayery thing. Across all the skin. Just avoiding any of the recesses. And picking out all the flat, smooth areas and details in the skin. So that sort of thing. come back and finish this guy. What you could do, for example, over here, and this one's the one we did with Poxwalker. You could just use this to highlight all the prominent areas.
And whilst we're getting that layer on, it's time to tell you about our sponsor. This video is sponsored by Serious Readers. I've talked about them in the past, so you guys already know I really believe in their stuff. So when Serious Readers asked me to check out their high definition Gemini table light, you know I absolutely had to. It uses all the same great stuff as their floor light, especially their proprietary daylight wavelength technology to replicate the daylight spectrum as closely as technically possible, which makes a big difference on your eyes. The biggest feature here though is that it's not one, but two light engines on separate flexible arms, giving you optimal coverage of your painting space, a light source to share with someone else, or a perfect setup for taking photos of your miniatures. They're built right here in the UK, as Serious Readers is a British company pioneering research into improving sight through shedding better light, relying on replicating the natural daylight spectrum that our eyes have evolved to use. They offer a 5-year warranty and are recommended by over 500 independent opticians. They're also super cool folks with excellent customer service, so much so that when I asked for a colder bulb, they sent me one, or in this case two, along with 2 diffusers to make my life even better. Check out Serious Readers today, and if you pick one up and use offer code SR489, you can get £100 off high definition lights and free delivery. Find out more in the links below.
That all done, as you can see, they're looking pretty cool. So now what we're going to do is we're going to highlight all of them with some thinned down Deepkin Flesh. So regardless of whether you've relayered or just done little highlights, what we want to do is we want to now highlight the edges of the muscles and facial features and things like that. So for example, here on this guy, you can just pick out all of the edges because we've done a full relayer on him. But for example, on the other two, if you've just done the kind of smallest edges and things like that, you can just pick out little spot highlights. So with that done, all of the flesh is finished. So what we're going to do is take a tiny little bit of white scar and we use this to pick out the eyeballs. Like so. And with that white scar applied to the eyes, we then take some Screaming Skull. We use this to pick out the teeth. Like so. And if you want to, you don't have to. You can also use this to add a little spot highlight to the bones. Although they already look pretty good. So, with that all done, the majority of our Hollowmourne Crypt Ghouls, well, actually Cryptguard, are finished. However, there's still a couple of things left to do, and one of those is the claws and the hair. And, well, the colour we're going to be using for this is some thinned down Karak Stone. And we're going to be using this for both colours. So, we're just going to start picking out the edges just like this. In all the hair and in the claws. If you want to, you can also add a little bit of this to the tips of some of the darker leather, just to give it a little bit of a spot highlight if you want to. I'm not going to, because it doesn't need it. As you can see, I'm almost kind of dry brushing this hair in some ways. It's a similar technique to get large amounts of hair like this done quite quickly. And then you just take a small amount of this on the brush and just dab off the excess like that. And then you just use the side of your brush to very carefully apply very little pressure. Just pick up all those really close edges. Like that. Like I said, if you want to, you can also add a little bit as a spot highlight to the brown to create just a little bit of a visual variation. That sort of thing. So with all that done, we are now going to finish them off by taking some thinned down Ironbreaker, and we're going to use this to highlight all the silver.
So with their bases now complete, our Hollowmourne Cryptguard are now finished. And it is a really effective scheme. I do like it a lot. It's not my favourite of the Flesh Eater Courts. I'm not sure why it's been chosen as the main theme, but I think it's pretty cool. It's very simple to do, and you can get lots of really cool variation in terms of the green of their flesh. I'm a really big fan of that, so that's great. If you enjoyed this video, you love the channel, and you'd like to support me further, you absolutely can do so by heading to patreon.com/Warhipster, just like all of these wonderful, amazing people have done. And alternatively, you could become a YouTube channel member by clicking on the join button below, exactly like these fabulous folks have done, scrolling up on the screen before you. There are so many of you out there that it really takes my breath away, and I cannot thank you enough for everything you do, as without you I wouldn't be able to keep making these Contrast Plus videos. And if you really like this video and you want to send me a little thanks, just click on the thanks button just below this video. Don't forget to share it, like it, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and to make sure you stay up to date, don't forget to click the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Happy wargaming.